So let's take a look at various options for storing application data. The simplest option is application properties. So this application class you have seen before has a property called properties, which is a dictionary. So we can put any objects here. And when the application goes into the sleep mode, those objects will be persisted permanently. And then when the application wakes up again, the data is available. So we don't have to write any data access code. All we have to do is to put some objects in this dictionary. Now, even though we can put any objects in this dictionary, it's better to use it only for simple values like integers, booleans, strings, date times, and so on. If you want to store a complex object into this dictionary, you need to serialize it as JSON. And then when the application wakes up, you need to manually deserialize this. So even though we can store complex objects in this dictionary, it's better to reserve this option for storing simple values. So basically we use application properties for simple application settings or transient data. Let's say you're building a messaging application. So the user might be in the middle of typing something, and before saving the data, the application crashes. When they come back to the application, they will be really disappointed if the data is lost. So this is what we call transient data, data that is not persisted yet. We can use application properties to store transient data. The next option we have is file system. So every application in every device is allocated a directory. And here we can store anything. We can store images, we can store HTML files, text files, and so on. One option for storing complex objects is to serialize them into JSON and store them in a file on the disk. Another option is using SQLite. So SQLite is a lightweight relational database. So we can use it to store structured data and query it, just as we do with SQL Server. But we don't have all the capabilities in SQL Server because SQLite is of course a very lightweight database engine. And the last option is to store data in the cloud. So you can have a database remotely somewhere in the cloud and publish services for storing data in this database. Many modern apps use this technique for storage. Examples are Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so on. So in these applications, the source of data is not in the user's device because we've got huge volume of data. So data is stored in the cloud and the mobile device calls web services to get the data. And of course, in most of these applications, for performance reasons, the data that is recently fetched is stored temporarily on the device. So we don't have to query the service every time. But then, as we come back to the app, if the new data is available, we get it from the cloud. A benefit of this approach is that you can also build a web interface that talks to these services in the cloud. Again, think of Facebook. You can access Facebook on web or via your mobile device. Both the web and the mobile apps talk to these services behind the scene. So this is the basic idea. Now throughout this section, we're going to explore each of these strategies in more detail.